Today we're going to be talking about decomposition. So what is decomposition? Well, decomposition is the breakdown of the body after death. So decomposition occurs in 5 predictable stages in a pattern that we recognize. There are, of course, factors that can influence how quickly each one of these stages occurs. They can slow it down, they can speed it up. But knowing the predictable pattern and how the factors affect the rate of decomposition, medical examiners can use that information to try to determine what's known as the post-mortem interval, and this is the amount of time that's passed since the person has died. Now we're going to be looking at decomposing pictures of mostly pigs because they are used commonly as life models for humans, but I do have some pictures in here of humans in various states of decomposition. I will warn you before I show those pictures, so if you are a little squeamish about it, you can look away, and then I'll say, okay, we have moved on from that picture so you can look back. I do have lots of other very gruesome pictures. Unfortunately, I'm not comfortable with posting those on the web, so if we return to school and you're interested in seeing some of these, I'll be happy to share those with you. Okay, so let's talk about our stages. So the stages of decomposition are as follows, and we're going to discuss each one individually and what happens and how long they take. But here are they are listed out. We have fresh, bloat or putrefaction, the names are used interchangeably, active decay or black putrefaction, advanced decay, and dry remains or skeletonization. And you can look at the sequence of pictures at the bottom here that gives you an idea of what the body will look like during each stage. So let's start with fresh. Fresh is referring to what happens immediately after death. So it starts from the moment of death and it lasts anywhere from 2 to 4 days after that, depending on the situation and who you talk to. During that time, obviously, the post-mortem artifacts that we've already talked about, livor mortar, rigor mortar, and algor mortar, are all going to occur. The digestion of the cells, autolysis, starts to happen as the lysosomes break down and the digestive enzymes leak out of the cells and they start to break down the cells. What you're basically going to see during this phase is not a huge change. Then maybe you'll get a few blisters on the surface of the skin, but overall it's just going to look like somebody sleeping, unless there's obviously a traumatic injury. You will start to see blowflies appear, assuming that the weather conditions are appropriate. Obviously, blowflies are not around in the wintertime. They have to have a certain temperature to be around. I believe it's like in the 60s. So if it's warm enough, you'll see blowflies appear, and they will start to lay their eggs, and their eggs kind of look like a thick yellow dust, almost like pollen, when they first are laid, and then they grow very, very rapidly. So this happens for about 2 to 4 days, and you can see our little piggy here, and then we have a full-size pig here, so you can just watch the changes in these two exemplars. So next up we have bloat or putrefaction. You've heard the word that smells putrid before, or the expression. It's referring to the stink. Death is smelly. Decomposition stinks. So as the microorganisms that are in the digestive tract mostly start to break down the body from the inside, there's also going to be microorganisms that are going to start breaking down, or decomposers that are going to attack the body from the outside. But the ones on the inside are producing, as they break down the tissues, all of these gases, and these gases get trapped in the body, inside the skin, and kind of, well, bloat up the skin like a balloon. So you can see that the skin gets very taut, and the person or animal will become extremely inflated looking, and it's going to start to stink really, really bad. You're going to get a greening of the skin as decomposition proceeds, and sometimes it will look marbled, and I'll show you that in a second. Skin can start to slip off, which is just like it sounds. If you grab a dead person during this phase, like, their skin will come off kind of like a glove or an article of clothing would slip off of a body. Towards the end of this stage, the pressure from all of the gases can actually rupture the animal or the person, and fluids are going to start leaking out of any orifices. And you can see right here around our piggy, especially around the mouth, you're starting to get some leakage happening right there, and it looks very, very bloated. Okay, The next slide is pictures of dead people. Not whole dead people, but just parts of them. It's a little gruesome, so if you're squeamish, just look away. Here you can see on the pictures on the left the marbling effect that you can get, and you can see very clearly on this lower one the green effect, and that is caused by the breakdown of the blood and just basically rot. Over here on this picture on the right, you can see the skin on the hand is starting to slip off. It actually like separated right there, and it's starting to slip off. What you have up here, these little white things, those are maggots, and we've actually got some pupae there as well. But okay, the pictures of the people are gone. You can look back if you were squeamish. Now we're into active decay. This is also known as black putrefaction. The big thing that you're going to see here is a massive loss of body mass, mostly due to maggots feeding on it. If you look at our piggy over here, this gray mass or this brown mass right here, guys, that's all maggots. Just they've eaten the entire head of the pig. Head, shoulders, looks like the front legs are gone as well. It's still stinking really badly. All of the liquids are starting to leak out because the maggots have done so much damage. They've, released tissues, and seepage can occur. You can see on our little piggy this big wet looking area that's all leakage. You're going to see a lot of maggots, and sometimes the flesh can turn black. You can see over here there is some blackening of the tissue, and what you're also starting to see over here is what's called the cadaver of decomposition island. So right around the body where all the leakage is happening, it's killing all of the vegetation. Okay, and this happens from about 10 to 20 days. In advanced decay, the body starts to dry out. So much insect activity has happened. A lot of the soft tissue is gone. The fluids have leaked out, and the body just starts to dry out. Your odor and insect activity is going to decrease. The blowflies, they're done. The maggots have left, and you're going to start to get some different types of insects that are going to come and feed on the dry tissue, but mostly the massive amount of insects are gone. At this point, you'll be seeing beetles and not flies. If the situations are favorable, sometimes a waxy layer known as adiposity will form, and it's this, if you look at this guy here, it's this kind of white yellowy film that's formed on him. It's a preservation. The body actually kind of turns into a soap-like wax. It's just the fat's metabolized in a specific way in a specific environment, and it's just known as adiposity. Okay, so that's advanced decay. 20 to 50 days, again, you can see a lot of the tissue is gone. A lot of the tissue is gone over here. You're starting to see skeletons. You can see some dry skin and some other dry goo. All the vegetation underneath is dead. And then our last phase is known as dry remains. And in this phase, and it's anywhere from 50 days on, it's also known as skeletonization. Basically, everything is gone except for some skin and the skeleton. The vegetation is been dead, but it might start to grow back at this time. And then last thing I wanted to talk about is some of the speed factors. So young people decompose faster than elderly people. This has a lot to do with the collagen and the extra little bits of fat that we tend to have, or that you guys tend to have. Overweight people are going to decompose faster than average people. We've got more fat. Fat holds water. We're wetter. Decompose faster. A naked corpse is going to decompose faster than a clothed corpse. The naked corpse is exposed to the environment. The insects can get to it faster. Therefore, they're going to expedite that process. Same thing goes with sick versus healthy. I'm not exactly sure why that is. I just know it's one of those things. And then lastly, our environmental conditions. So decomp happens fastest between 70 and 99 degrees, and this is because it's the bacteria and the insects that basically facilitate the decomposition, and they both need that temperature to be super active. You refrigerate food, and and we refrigerate corpses after death to prevent bacteria activity. Also, super high temperatures are going to dry the corpses out and help preserve them. Just like I said, low temperatures are going to slow decomposition. They're not going to stop it, but they will slow it. And then finally, bodies just exposed to the air, like outside air uncovered, are going to decomp faster than those submerged in water or the buried under the soil. And again, this has something to do with insect activity and bacterial, the ability of bacteria to break things down. So guys, those are the stages of decomposition. Please read over them. Make sure that you understand them well. Have your notes out. And then you're going to go take the quiz when you are ready.